Hello everyone, and welcome to Bible at Night. I know many of you use this video to fall asleep. So, before we get started, tell me, where are you from, and what time are you watching? Also, don't forget to go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started. The Valley of Bones. Renting the quaint little house at the edge of the wilderness seemed like the perfect retreat. Life in the city had drained me, and the quiet countryside promised solace. The days passed gently, with the wind rustling the fields and the sky a vivid blue. But then, one night, everything changed. I fell asleep in the old wooden bed, its creaks lulling me into a deep, uneasy slumber. At first, I dreamed of nothingness, just silence, a blank void. But then, like a creeping shadow, something stirred. I awoke, or at least, I thought I did, into a different place entirely. It wasn't a dream. At least, it didn't feel like one. The air was thick and heavy, pressing against my chest. The landscape stretched into eternity, barren and broken, dry, lifeless. The ground beneath me was pale and cracked, as though it hadn't felt water or life in centuries. And then I heard it, a faint crunch beneath my feet. At first, I thought it was gravel, but when I looked down, my stomach turned. It wasn't dirt. It wasn't stones. It was bones. Endless bones, skulls, grinning in their eternal silence. Ribs, jagged and broken, clawing out of the dust. Fingers curled, as if grasping for something lost long ago. The valley was a graveyard without graves, a place where the dead had been forgotten by the living, and perhaps even by time itself. I wasn't alone. I could feel it. A presence, unseen but undeniable, filled the air. It was heavy, almost suffocating, and it poured down on me as though judging my very existence. Then a voice, deep and resonant, pierced the silence. "Son of man, can these bones live?" The question echoed through the valley, bouncing off the invisible walls of eternity. My breath caught in my throat. My mind raced. Could they live? Could these ancient, brittle remains ever feel the spark of life again? I couldn't answer. My lips moved, but no words came. The voice spoke again, louder now, with a power that seemed to shake the ground itself. "Prophesy to these bones. Say to them, hear the word of the Lord." Against my will, or perhaps guided by something far beyond me, I began to speak. My words were not my own, yet they came with a force I couldn't comprehend. They carried through the valley, echoing like a windstorm, and then it began. A sound, low and distant, at first like the rustling of leaves, but it grew louder, sharper, more defined. A deep, unsettling rattle. The bones began to move. Not just one or two, but hundreds, thousands, clattering against each other as they came together. Skulls locked onto spines, fingers reattached to hands, ribs rebuilt rib cages. The valley was alive with motion, but it wasn't life. Not yet. I stood frozen, unable to look away as the chaos unfolded before me. Bones, once scattered and lifeless, formed into skeletons, rising from the dust like phantoms. And then, as if by some unseen hand, they began to change. Tendons and muscles spread across their frames, creeping like shadows. Skin stretched, pale and smooth, over their lifeless forms. Their faces, once hollow skulls, now stared at me, eyes, empty sockets, just moments ago, filled with something unexplainable. Not quite alive. Not entirely dead. They stood in silence, an army of the risen, waiting for something. The voice spoke again, more commanding than ever. Prophesy to the breath. Say to it, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe into these slain, that they may live. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. The words spilled from my lips, as though drawn out of me by the force in the air. The wind returned, roaring now, swirling in wild, chaotic currents. It filled their lungs if that's what they were in. They began to breathe, choking, gasping, unnatural breaths. One by one, they raised their heads. They looked at me. Their eyes burned with something I couldn't understand. Something ancient and powerful. Something terrifying. I tried to step back, but the ground beneath me felt as though it would pull me under. I could see their faces more clearly now, gaunt and pale, their expressions unreadable. There was no humanity in them. And yet, there was something. The voice spoke once more, as though addressing the army now standing before me. You are my people. I will bring you back. I will restore you. And just like that, the oppressive weight lifted. The valley disappeared. I woke up, drenched in sweat, the echo of the voice still ringing in my ears. I don't know what I saw that night, or what it meant, but I can't shake the memory. When I close my eyes, I see the bones, I hear the rattle, and I feel the wind. Some nights, I think I still hear it, calling, whispering, waiting.